Listen, the greatest lie you have been sold is that your biggest enemy is procrastination. That is a distraction. Procrastination is merely a symptom. The true, modern existential enemy is attention deficit. You are not lazy. You are addicted to distraction. Every corporation, every algorithm, every weak-minded person around you is fighting for control over the one finite, non-renewable resource you possess, your focus. You are currently living in a state of psychological colonization. Your mind is not your own. It is a battleground where thousands of external forces, notifications, cheap dopamine spikes, trivial gossip, are fighting for control. If you do not conquer this chaos, you will be conquered by it, and your potential will be systematically stripped away, one notification at a time. The average man treats his focus like common currency. The sovereign man treats it like gold bullion. You must understand the brutal economy of the modern age. Scarcity equals value. Your focus is scarce. Therefore, its value is infinite. You must transition immediately from being a consumer of digital narcotics to becoming a monk of focus, guarding your attention with the zealous intensity of a general defending his final citadel. The old you was a drifter. He allowed his impulses to dictate his destination. He allowed the fleeting whim of the notification to pull him off course. That man is not sovereign. He is a puppet, a slave to external cues. The new you is the architect of his attention. He dictates the terms of engagement. He decides what enters the fortress of his mind and what is left to die outside the gates. You must implement the principle of non-engagement. The moment you look at a notification, you have already lost. The negotiation is over. You have already allowed the enemy to enter the perimeter. The true discipline is not to resist the impulse. The true discipline is to engineer an environment where the impulse never takes root. You must sever the connection before the signal is sent. The cost of this psychological fragmentation is not abstract. It is measured in dead ambition, in unfinished projects, in the chronic, soul-crushing failure to achieve deep, meaningful work. You are trading minutes of shallow stimulation for hours of genuine progress. You are trading the pursuit of your destiny for the cheap, momentary relief of scrolling. This is psychological poverty, dressed up as engagement. Stop thinking of distraction as a weakness. Start thinking of distraction as an active betrayal. Every click, every pointless scroll, every minute spent consuming things that do not build your future, that is a vote for the old, pathetic self. You are actively voting against your own sovereignty. You are actively voting against your own greatness. You must terminate this voting process now. You are not fighting temptation. You are fighting the annihilation of your own potential. This war requires intentional violence against the self that seeks comfort in the chaos. The chaos is a lie. The chaos is the enemy's habitat. Your habitat must be unbroken, structured, surgical silence. You must become so allergic to distraction that the mere thought of checking your phone during a work block creates physical revulsion. That level of self-control is not optional. It is the mandatory price of true power. The only path to achieving deep work, the work that actually compounds and builds real power, is through the discipline of the void. This means creating a psychological and physical environment so barren of external stimuli that your mind is forced to feed on the task at hand. You are not multitasking, you are multi-threatening your own success. Deep work demands singularity. The old self loved noise. He needed the constant hum of external validation, the constant stream of inputs to feel productive. This was a fraud. True productivity is silent, lonely, and absolutely unbroken. You must embrace the monk's mentality. A monk seeks isolation to find truth. You must seek isolation to find focus. Physically, Eliminate visual clutter. Eliminate audible clutter. Eliminate digital clutter. Your workspace must be a temple of purpose, not a graveyard of half-finished thoughts. Temporally, implement non-negotiable focus blocks, periods of 90 to 120 minutes where your phone is not just silent, but physically removed from the room, powered down, treated as a poisonous object. You must make it physically painful and logistically difficult to become distracted. Mentally, you must learn to tolerate the initial screaming of the void. When you first enter deep focus, your mind will recoil, demanding its digital narcotic. You must sit there in the agony of the withdrawal and force the energy back onto the task. This is the crucible of mental toughness. The resistance you feel is the old self dying. The power of the void is that it forces your mind to use its massive processing power on solving problems rather than consuming inputs. The average man is a processor of external data. The sovereign man is a creator of new reality. You must stop confusing activity with achievement. The old self was always busy, answering emails, attending meetings, scrolling through feeds. He was active, but his activity produced zero leverage. The new self seeks singular, levered achievement that moves the needle on his destiny. You must be brutal in your time assessment. Is this task generating leverage, or is it merely generating the illusion of busyness? The illusion must be terminated immediately. The scarcity of attention is not a challenge. It is the ultimate filter. Only those who possess the iron will to master their focus will rise above the chaotic mass of the distracted. You must commit to becoming one of them. Your concentration is your currency. Do not be poor. The old self operated on the fatal delusion that willpower alone could sustain his ambition. That is a lie sold by the unprepared. Willpower is finite. It is a muscle that fatigues. The sovereign man does not rely on willpower. He designs a system of inevitability that renders willpower obsolete. You must stop fighting the battle inside your head and instead engineer the battlefield so that winning becomes the only logical outcome. This requires the imposition of external, logistical, painful barriers against the weakness of the old self. You must make it physically, structurally, and financially difficult to betray your standards. The sovereign man is a systems architect. He implements the principle of the one-way gate. Once a decision is made, to wake up early, to work without distraction, to refuse consumption, the gate closes behind him, making retreat harder than advance. This is the application of ruthless self-honesty. You know your weak points. You know the exact moments you fold, and you must build a concrete wall at those exact points of failure. This means physically removing the narcotics of distraction. Your phone is not a tool, it is a weapon aimed at your focus. It must be treated as a toxic element. It is not enough to put it on silent. You must place it in a separate room, in a timed lockbox, or entrust it to a third party. You must introduce friction into the process of distraction. When the weak self demands its dopamine fix, it must encounter a physical barrier, a logistics problem, a barrier that requires too much effort to breach. The moment the effort to be distracted exceeds the effort to perform the work, you have won the war. You must codify the war on consumption. The old self was a compulsive consumer of content, of news, of gossip, of shallow entertainment. He confused consumption with education and knowledge with power. This is a fatal delusion. Knowledge without execution is the ultimate form of self-betrayal. The new you is a producer, a creator, a builder. You must enforce a radical surgical bias toward creation. For every 60 minutes you spend consuming, you must spend 180 minutes producing. You must starve the consumption engine and feed the creation engine. Your value is derived from what you build, not what you know. The elimination of weakness also demands the termination of the mental loop. The average man spends 80% of his energy in his own head. thinking about starting, worrying about failure, negotiating the workload, or simply recycling past mistakes. This internal noise is the sound of the old self fighting for survival. You must silence the loop through immediate, overwhelming action. The moment you catch yourself negotiating or worrying, you must force yourself into a physical action that serves the mission. Motion kills the mental monologue. You must treat your thoughts as internal commands. If a thought is not productive, it is immediately discarded and replaced by movement. The sovereign man eliminates the tyranny of the day after tomorrow. The weak self loves to plan difficult things for the distant future, creating an illusion of progress without the pain of execution. This is a fraud. All difficult decisions must be resolved and executed in the present tense. You must act now, not when the conditions are perfect. The conditions are never perfect. Your readiness is not a feeling. Your readiness is the courage to begin before you are fully ready. By acting immediately, you deprive the weak self of the time needed to build his defenses and launch his sabotage. This commitment is an iron vow. It is not a suggestion you try. It is a law you enforce. You are building a new identity, the architect of inevitability, and that identity is allergic to the weakness of the old self. You are systematically burning the boats of retreat. There is no going back to the comfortable shore. There is only the ruthless onward advance. Your internal sovereignty is non-negotiable. This is the relentless code of the man who makes his own success predictable. The old self operated under the pathetic, sentimental delusion that fatigue was a signal for surrender. He believed that the moment the pressure mounted, the moment the energy waned, the moment the muscles burned, that was the universe granting permission to quit. This is a catastrophic, fundamental misinterpretation of reality. Fatigue is not a stop sign. It is a confirmation signal. It is the sound of your biology reluctantly yielding to your sovereign will. It is the sound of your old, weaker self being violently torn apart and reconstructed. The alchemy of fatigue is simple. You must convert the biological input of tiredness into the psychological fuel of progress. The average man feels the burn and retreats. The sovereign man feels the burn and understands. This is the exact moment where the separation occurs. This is the precise psychological juncture where the weak are filtered out, where the commitment is tested, and where the new unbreakable identity is forged. You must accept that this process is fundamentally painful. Growth is not comfortable. The removal of the old self is not painless. It is not poetic. It is a grinding, agonizing, silent war fought against the chemical addiction to ease. You must learn to seek the friction. You must learn to crave the resistance. The smooth, easy path is the path of atrophy. The path of resistance is the path of expansion. When the old self screams for rest, when the negotiation starts, you must execute the principle of the 20% overload. You must force yourself, through sheer uncompromising will, to complete 20% more than you believe you are physically or mentally capable of. If your limit is 10 repetitions, you force 12. If your limit is 90 minutes of focus, you enforce 108. This forced overload is the only mechanism that shatters the self-imposed ceilings of the past. You must prove empirically to your own mind that its limits were a contemptible lie. The sovereign man is detached from the sentimental illusion of emotional fatigue. He understands that motivation is fleeting, but discipline is divine. Your feelings, your exhaustion, your boredom, your momentary frustration are data points, nothing more. They are signals that the work is hard, not signals that the work should stop. You must implement a surgical divorce of mood from mission. The mission remains constant, immutable, and non-negotiable, regardless of the temporary chemical landscape of your brain. The professional executes the standard. The amateur waits for inspiration. You are a professional. The war against mental inertia. The moment your mind drifts, the moment you catch yourself negotiating, is the exact moment you must increase the intensity of your focus. You must treat every distraction, every lapse in concentration, not as an accident, but as an active, malicious attack on your sovereignty. You must respond with the intentional violence of immediate correction. If you fail to correct immediately, the lapse becomes a pattern. The pattern becomes a habit. The habit becomes the old self reborn. You must cut the cancer the moment it appears. You must stop confusing activity with achievement. The old self was chronically busy, active, buzzing, always moving, but producing zero leverage. He loved the illusion of movement. The new self seeks singular, devastatingly effective achievement that fundamentally moves the needle on his destiny. You must be brutal in your assessment. Is this action generating leverage, or is it merely generating the feeling of busyness? The illusion must be terminated immediately. Your worth is measured by your output, not your frantic movement. The acceptance of pain is the final key to freedom. True freedom is not the absence of discomfort, it is the absolute mastery over it. It is the ability to choose the long-term, necessary, growth-inducing pain over the short-term, debilitating comfort. The man who willingly embraces the grind, who finds the quiet ecstasy in the difficult hour, who uses the pain of the resistance as a compass point, is the man who has broken the mental chains of the past. Your discomfort is your compass. It points directly to the necessary growth. Follow the pain. The sovereign man understands that he cannot maintain a high standard in a low-standard environment. Your ascent is not a solo internal journey. It is a profound, necessary divorce from everything external that facilitates the weakness of the old self. This requires the total purge. You must look at your life, your physical space, your social circle, your digital consumption, and ruthlessly sever anything that does not actively accelerate your mission. Your environment must become a constant, uncompromising reflection of your highest standard. If your social circle celebrates mediocrity, if your friends encourage indulgence, if your colleagues tolerate sloppiness, you must execute the relationship. This is not personal cruelty. This is strategic self-preservation. You cannot afford to engage in perpetual negotiation with those who have chosen decay. You must surround yourself with executors, builders, and architects, people whose presence demands that you rise to their level. If you are the smartest, most focused person in the room, you are in the wrong room. You must seek friction, not affirmation, from your peers. The digital purge. Your digital environment is the primary battlefield for your attention. You must implement a digital zero-tolerance policy. Unfollow every account that promotes consumption, distraction, or self-pity. Delete every application that does not directly contribute to your core mission or your core health. You are not deleting content. You are deleting the temptation to retreat. Your phone must become a simple tool for execution, communication, and learning, not a portal to the abyss of distraction. The hunt for lies, the ultimate act of honesty. The greatest obstacle to the new self is the lie that the old self tells. You must become a relentless, surgical hunter of your own self-deception. This requires implementing the principle of the accountability ledger. Every single night, you must confront the brutal, unvarnished truth of your actions. You must record, with cold precision, the promises you kept and the promises you betrayed. This ledger is not for motivation. It is for data and self-correction. The lie of effort. Did you truly give maximum effort, or did you give the appearance of effort? The old self seeks the optics of struggle. The new self seeks the undeniable output. The lie of intent. Did you waste an hour because you intended to rest, or because you failed to plan your transition between tasks? The old self blames external factors. The new self owns the lapse in planning. The lie of tomorrow. Did you postpone a difficult task because it was genuinely impossible today, or because you feared the necessary discomfort? The old self lives in the fraud of future readiness. The new self executes in the painful present. The only way to kill self-deception is through cold, hard, quantifiable data. You must look at the numbers of your focus blocks, your output, and your fulfilled commitments. The numbers do not lie. If the numbers show decay, you must respond with immediate, violent course correction, not with sentimentality or excuses. The old self viewed failure as a definitive end, a reason to quit, a justification for regression. The new self views failure as a tool. Failure is nothing more than a rich source of data and feedback. You must implement a ruthless feedback loop. When you fail, and you will, because you are pushing beyond known limits, you do not retreat. You stop, you analyze the point of system failure, you extract the painful necessary lesson, and you immediately integrate the correction. Failure is the only path to advanced learning. The person who is not failing is the person who is not attempting anything substantial. You must learn to love the resistance, love the error, and love the analysis, because each one refines your system and hardens your resolve. Failure is a tuition fee paid directly to your sovereign future. Pay it without complaint, extract the lesson, and move with greater speed and precision. The final act of forgetting. After extracting the lesson, you must forget the emotion of the failure. The old self would have wallowed in the shame, allowing the failure to become an identity. The new self uses the data, implements the fix, and discards the emotion immediately. Your memory is for lessons, not for shame. You must move forward with the clean, surgical clarity of a machine programmed for relentless, predictable ascent. You have executed the sentence. You have buried the old self. You have constructed the systems. Now you must achieve the final, most powerful transformation, the transition from the builder to the inevitable. The builder works hard. The inevitable man simply is. The defining characteristic of this new identity is predictability. Your success is no longer a matter of chance, luck, or divine intervention. It is a mathematical certainty. You have engineered the systems, enforced the standards, and eliminated the variables of weakness to such a degree that the outcome is immutable. You have replaced the chaotic randomness of the old life with the clean, surgical certainty of the new. The universe rewards clarity. Your clarity is absolute, the power of non-negotiable consistency. Consistency is not a virtue. It is a weapon. It is the force that breaks mountains and moves continents. You must enforce a rhythm of execution so steady, so unwavering, that the cumulative effort of yesterday becomes the insurmountable leverage of today. The average man seeks the spectacular, high-intensity sprint that fades quickly. The sovereign man enforces the relentless, low-intensity, non-stop grind. This consistency, performed in the dark, is the only force capable of turning potential into fulfillment. You must embrace the principle of the perpetual ascent. There is no finish line. The moment you declare that you have arrived, you have begun to decay. The moment you settle into maintenance, you have started the slow rot of regression. The sovereign man understands that life is a continuous spiral of ascent. Your commitment must be to outgrow your current self before he even has a chance to settle. Your daily mission is to render the person you were 24 hours ago obsolete. Your pursuit of sovereign focus is not merely for personal gain, it is for legacy. The attention you hoard and focus today is the energy you pour into a future that benefits others. You are building something so structurally powerful that it will outlive the fragility of your own life. This is the transcendent motive that fuels the deepest discipline. The alchemy of time. The average man allows time to erode his life, killing his dreams through distraction. The sovereign man weaponizes time. He uses every block of focused attention as a unit of construction for his legacy. You must treat time with the respect and reverence it deserves. It is the one currency you can never earn back. Every minute of distraction is a minute stolen from the legacy you were meant to build. Stop trading immortality for impatience. The imprint of presence. The final marker of your transformation is your presence. The man you have become does not need to speak loudly to command attention. His mere presence is a statement. He walks taller, speaks clearer, and leads stronger because he knows deep in his bones that he earned it. His presence carries the undeniable weight of earned self-respect, forged in the fires of discipline and solitude. People feel it. They may not know what changed, but they know something has changed. You no longer carry the fragile weight of who you used to be. You walk in the unshakable power of the man you chose to become. The man you have become is no longer tempted by the old life because the rewards of the new life are exponentially greater than the comforts of the past. You traded short-term ease for long-term dominion. You traded temporary dopamine hits for permanent self-worth. You are the sovereign. You are the architect. You are the executioner. The old version of you is dead forever. You have killed every excuse. You have annihilated every weak identity. You have destroyed every self-limiting belief. What remains is a force of nature, a system designed for predictable success. You are no longer chasing success. You are success in motion. Now you lead. Now you execute. Now you achieve. You are the unstoppable man. If this message resonates with the core of the sovereign man you are destined to be, if the truth of this war has ignited a fire you cannot extinguish, then you have two immediate final actions to take. Action 1. Execute today. Do not wait until the thought fades. Do not wait until you have finished scrolling. Stand up now. Go to the singular, most difficult task you have been avoiding. Execute the standard. Begin the process of permanent structural subtraction immediately. The time for analysis is over. The time for action is now. Action 2. Join the ranks. This pursuit is solitary, but the mindset is shared. If you are committed to the relentless execution of the sovereign self, to the daily death of the weak man, and to the eternal enforcement of your highest standards, then subscribe to this channel. Like this video to affirm your vow. Comment the single word execution below as a public, non-negotiable declaration of war against your past self. The old version of you is dead. Now, rise up and build. Today. Without pause, without excuses. The war is now. The ascent is non-negotiable. Go.